morning, it's me again, Space Trooper Solar Storm. As you know, I am with the United Interplanetary Explorers. It has been a whole year since I have joined you here at School of the Rock. It has taken us an entire year, but we made it to the planet Mars. Our spaceship, the Phoenix 3000, brought us here safely. You know, I have been so homesick for Earth that I put this picture of home up here on the screen. Even though I'm very homesick, oh, what an incredible adventure this journey has been. Let me show you some pictures from the surface of Mars. Here's what I saw when I first stepped onto Mars. And here's one of my fellow space trooper and I, Sunny Stargazer. And this is some of the equipment we left behind for the next group of space explorers who come to Mars. We spent lots of time exploring Mars in hopes that one day we could actually establish a human colony on the red planet. Here's a drawing of what a colony might possibly look like. Right now, a colony on Mars seems like something that is totally impossible. It's really cold on Mars and there's no oxygen in the air to breathe. But, you know, we used to think that it would be impossible to even send a spaceship to Mars. But here we are. Thinking about things that seem impossible reminds me of a Bible story. In the story, Abraham's wife Sarah thought something that God said would happen was simply impossible. But is anything really too hard for God? Say today's big idea with me before we explore the story. Nothing is impossible with God. Our story is found in Genesis 18, 1-15. Then we're going to jump ahead to Genesis 21, 1-3. The Bible is the Word of God, and everything in the Bible is true. And God speaks to us through the Bible, so let's listen carefully to what He has to say to us today in this story. One day the Lord appeared to Abraham while he was staying near the large trees of Mamre. By this time, both Abraham and Sarah were very old. Abraham was sitting at the entrance of his tent. It was the hottest time of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. So he quickly left the entrance of the tent to greet them. He bowed low to the ground. Abraham realized these were not ordinary men, but that he was in the presence of God. He said, "My Lord, if you're pleased with me, don't pass me by. Let me get you some water. Then all of you can wash your feet and rest under this tree. Let me get you something to eat to give you strength. Then you can go on your way. I want to do this for you now that you've come to me." "All right," they answered, "do as you say." So Abraham quickly hurried to the tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get 3 large measures of the finest flour. Prepare it and bake some bread." Then he ran over to the herd and he picked out a choice, tender calf. He gave it to a servant who hurried to prepare it. Then he brought some butter and milk and the calf that had been prepared. He served them to the 3 men. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. "Where's your wife Sarah?" they asked. "Over there in the tent," he said. Then one of them said, "I will surely return to you about this time next year. And your wife Sarah will have a son then." Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already very old. Sarah was too old to have a baby. So she laughed to herself. She thought, "I'm worn out and my husband is old. Can I really know the joy of having a baby?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh? Why did she say, 'Will I really have a baby now that I'm old?' Is anything too hard for me? I will return to you at the appointed time next year. Sarah will have a son." Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, "I didn't laugh." But the Lord said, "Yes, you laughed." The Lord was gracious to Sarah, just as he had said he would be. And the Lord did for Sarah what he had promised to do. Sarah became pregnant, and she had a son by Abraham when he was old. The child was born at the exact time God had promised. Abraham gave the name Isaac to the son Sarah had by him. Abraham and Sarah were already too old to have children when God first promised Abraham that a great nation would come from his family. That seemed something impossible at that time. Abraham was 75 years old and Sarah was 65. Then God made them wait even longer. About 24 years later, the three visitors appeared at Abraham and Sarah's tent. Abraham was about 99 years old at that point, and he knew in his heart that the visitors were no ordinary men, but that he was in the presence of God. Of course, he wanted to be a good host to them, so he scrambled to prepare some food for them. It's not surprising that Sarah laughed when she heard that she would have a baby. She was about 89 years old at that time. In those days, she was old enough to have been a great-great-great-grandma. Becoming a mother for the first time at that age was impossible. But with God, nothing is impossible. 1 year later, Sarah and Abraham had a baby whom they named Isaac. Eventually, Abraham's family became the nation of Israel. God can do things that we think are impossible, and he still does miracles today. As Jesus followers, we can trust that he will do miracles for us too. God can change the heart of that bully at school, or he can heal a sick family member. He can bring peace to a family that seems to be falling apart. God just asks us to pray and believe that he has the power to answer our prayer, no matter how impossible the situation may seem. Now, does that mean God always answers our prayers the way we want him to? Does he always provide the miracle that we want him to? No, but we can trust that he has the power to bring good out of the worst situations. And that is still a miracle. Sometimes the impossible thing he does is to change our hearts from doubting him to trusting in him and experiencing his peace, even if our circumstances don't change. Choose to trust God and believe that he can do the impossible. Well, my friends, it's time for me to get back to my mission here. I have a lot of data to process from my time on the surface of Mars. Mission Control is waiting on my report. And I also have to make some repairs on my spacesuit. There was a little damage because I was having so much fun jumping up and down on the planet due to the low gravity. I'm not sure when I will next see you, but until then, this is Space Trooper Solar Storm saying, let the adventure continue. Bye now.